evening and welcome to the Foresight Scrolls Channel. On the Foresight Scrolls Channel, we look at stocks, cryptos, and commodities with the Foresight Suite of indicators for Tradingview. If you happen to be here during the live stream, you can always drop a question in the chat. I'd be happy to look at anything using the Foresight Suite, and also a little technical analysis too, because we find that the Foresight Suite and technical analysis complement each other really well. So tonight we're going to start out like we normally do, taking a look at the S&P 500, specifically on the SPY, the ETF that tracks the S&P 500. And we can see, let me get this little OBS thing out of the way here. We can see that we've been in this up channel since March, highly unusual. And we called the exact top with the Foresight Suite, both there and with the short spell here. We broke down. We came back, we touched the underside of this channel, so that's how our Foresight Suite and technical analysis can match up really well. And we got a rejection off of that, which was expected. You can see here too, we're in the middle of the third play since the top here. So we got the Premontion, we got the down move, we got the Premontion here, the long spell here, we got the up move, so two positive trades. And right now we're getting a new Premontion just below the Premontion here. And I would suspect this is a little RSI divergence too, if I were to look at the RSI. And you can see that we haven't confirmed yet. It's still on the candle. So tomorrow, this is a 4-hour chart. Tomorrow we should confirm this. And then we would be looking for a long spell here. Now you can certainly just short or long premonitions, not financial advice. But you can't do that. We like to look for the premonition plus the spell as the confluence. So we will be doing that to see if we want to jump back into a long here. We do think it's potentially the top of the market for the foreseeable intermediate future. But a couple of things we need to know about that is, let's zoom out to the daily or to the weekly here. Whoa, look at that daily candle, gnarly. Okay, so we got this big daily candle right here. Oh, look at this. This was juicy. So back here, this was during the tariffs announcements. Back here, we got this oblivion cross, told us this thing was over to the downside. Had this really highly unusual march up with, this is crazy. This is the weekly candles and no red Heiken-Eshes on the way up, which is just really unusual. You know, normally you will get a little bump, a little dump, a little dump. I mean, it has to pull back. That's the nature of markets. So now we've got, whoa, I didn't even see this. I don't even think I've looked at this before. Look at this on the weekly. So we got a short spell here, and we got multiple layers of confluence. So we got a super signal. That's this big white triangle. We got a double omen signal here and a short spell. Now, we engineered this thing to work the best on about that 4-hour time frame. So the further you zoom out in any direction, the more finicky it can be unless you change settings. And so you can see here, we did get a short spell here and it grinded up, but then it's just screaming at you to short. And we get this big pullback. We can see, what was it we were going to look at here? On the daily, we have gone lower, but we are getting, well, I think we said last night that yesterday we were up here, and we did say that if we dumped out, that normally we would find support right there. That's just some simple technical analysis, previous lows. We are printing an oblivion signal, and it's a good time to talk about what that is. This blue line here, this is called our epoch. This is our line in the sand. So it's our intermediate to macro, depending on how you're looking at it, bullish versus bearish market. So you can see here, we got the oblivion signal, and after we got it, now this is, I would stand to guess, this is before we ever heard about the tariffs. We probably started to get the whisper of the tariffs in here in the media. And then Trump actually announced it it's right in here, which is really interesting considering it went right into our wave. And you can see we had a 20% drawdown in the market. Huge. Huge. To quote the president. So now we're getting this oblivion cross again. We're going to wait till tomorrow to see if it confirms. My guess is actually on this thing, they just dropped the Epstein files, so or they just voted to release them. So we'll see. I guess history tells us that probably what we will see is some sort of correction. It wouldn't even surprise me if we saw this thing go to all-time highs, but still jam up on the underside of this channel here before making that last turn down. But we could just continue to bleed off, and we'll wait to see that. So if we get a close on the oblivion tomorrow, and a roll over here on the wave of eons is our trend indicator, then we are looking to the downside. But since we're playing the 4-hour, you can see it's much more clear here, and we are getting a premonition. We're looking for a long spell, and that would probably be useful to make a long back up to the blue line here, or the epoch, because generally what happens when this purple wave turns over, you will see a pump back into the wave until the epoch crosses the body of the purple wave of eons here. So generally that's what you're going to see when you have a true breakdown. All right, let's move on to the NASDAQ 100, the NDX here. And we see something very similar. Now, we don't have any technical in that. Well, we do. We have some older trend lines drawn here, but no up channel or anything drawn on this chart. You can see, and we're on the daily, just to point that out, you can see that we have broken below here. Let's see if the flow of time actually has the oblivion cross on. It does, hasn't printed. Oh, no, there it is. So you're seeing the oblivion print in real time here. Does that hold? Normally you see a push back up into the wave to see if that's going to hold. If it does, we're going down. There are some levels down here that it should bounce on, I would suspect. Generally, when you get a bear market, what you're going to see are drawdowns and bounces and bounces and bounces and bounces until we get to the very bottom. And then the very bottom is usually the nasty dump out before the correction, and then we start moving back up. Let's jump over to Bitcoin. Bitcoin also on the daily here, we see we're getting a premonition, not yet verified. We want to see that thing close, and since we are below this red line, which is a line that goes all the way back to the bull market, the top of the bull market of 2021, we want to probably would expect this thing to get a long spell and a bounce up into this line and get rejected and go further down. Now, what you may notice and what you may already know is how this is following the S&P 500. Bitcoin has this history of people expecting it to become the new reserve currency, and maybe that might be true, but for now it's just a risk-on, risk-off asset, just like stocks are. And so when the S&P starts to turn down, Bitcoin turns down. It's that simple. Now, it has given great rewards over time, no doubt about that, but it does move with the stock market, make no mistake about it. And when it stops, we'll be ready to say that, but for now it's doing that. So yeah, let's jump over to the 4-hour on Bitcoin and see what this looks like over there. It looks like, at the moment it's, my guess is we get this premonition here, a little pump, maybe it comes back down and tests this area here before it continues to move up. But it's sort of a wait and see game. We follow our long spells on the Mystic, and so we don't chase anything. to jump in anywhere in here just wouldn't make sense as far as our indicators go. You can see the indicators tell a very clean story. Let me just look right here. Long spell, premonition, up. We get the short spell, down. You get a premonition here. It marches sideways. If you know technical analysis, what you would know is you get this long leg down. And if you get an indicator that gives you a bullish indication, but it goes sideways, that means it's short. This is a bear flag printing. And so then we go down, and again, it's struggling. So we'll see. We'll follow that out over the next few days. Let's jump over to XRP. XRP, oh yeah, there was something I wanted to point out here. Because we're having this breakdown in the overall market, so you see the S&P 500 breaking down, you see Bitcoin breaking down, the altcoins have also been falling for sure, but they're trying to find their footing on their previous levels, and you can see here that we have support here, all through here, so just generally speaking, right in there, and you can see it's certainly bouncing there. Now on the daily, it seemed pretty clean. Now, we won't see a spell in this thing unless this thing drives down here and turns around. But if we drop down to the 4-hour, this is a really unusual. You don't see, if you notice on the Mystic Spell here, how we go from bottom to top, bottom to top, bottom to top, bottom to top. And right in here, look at this thing. It's getting really choppy. It doesn't know what it wants to do. So these altcoins are waiting for some clarity in the market from the overall market itself. Now, if the market decides to go down, they will go down. That doesn't mean that you won't get opportunities like this where you get a premonition and a spell and a nice little trade here. You will definitely still get that. It just needs to know some clarity in overall direction in the market. So we go from top to bottom, go from outside in. Yeah, outside in. So top to bottom just meaning like we look at the big daddies, we look at S&P 500, we look at the NASDAQ, we look at Bitcoin on the dailies to tell the direction. And then we get some clarities on stocks and cryptos and things like that. Now, the past few days we've been looking at the Lowe's Corporation, not to be confused with Lowe's, the lumber store, but the Lowe's Corporation, which holds several different assets, including some, I think, gas pipelines, among other things. And you can see here, we have a few things going on with the indicators themselves, but also with some technical analysis. Let's focus first on this large uptrend that we've been in. That's on a daily and a weekly chart. Let's zoom out and see if we can see that real quick. Getting frozen up here. This probably makes more sense on the daily. Previous top, which we have to point out, the Foresight indicators called this top on a daily chart on the day itself, called the very tip top. Got the confluence on the next day, and then caught every single bit of that downturn. So we go from that top to the next top, which sometimes I don't even know that these things happen until I see them in real time. We got the premonition here. We got the spell here. We called the next top. And now what's happened is, if we go back to the 4-hour, we can see that we're at all-time highs, but we're still under this trend line. Now, I've drawn, if you're familiar with Fibonacci extensions, there's a Fibonacci extension here, and the golden retracement zone, or golden zone as it's often called in Fibonacci, is this 1.615 zone, 1.618. So we have a confluence here. If you look at this macro uptrend, I drew in this red line right here just to represent this sort of golden zone here for the Fibonacci's. And we're pushing up, and you see that. and we're getting into this area of heavy resistance up here. And what I've noticed is the past few days is that even though we're pushing up in price, the puts on lows aren't moving really all that much. So normally if you have a put, sort of like a short, you can think of it as a short, but price is going up, you should be losing money on those puts, and they're just not moving that much. It says something. Now, one thing to consider here is that we have been pushing up and then going sideways, and generally that's a bull flag. So this is your flagpole, this is your flag, this area right here is your flag, this price action. But it's in a really unusual position because, as you can see, it's just above the all-time high, and it's going into this major resistance. So what happens from here will be really interesting. What we're seeing here on our mystic spell is a lot of indecision also. Now, I would suspect that we get some price action up into this area, maybe even a little above it, and then a pullback. We'll see if that happens. We have, let's see what we're looking at here. Dividends payout. What is this? In a few days, I guess. And then, earnings. What are earnings? Oh, we saw earnings. Oh, well, now I can't get that off the screen. We saw earnings happen back here. And so, I would just want to watch this on the next few days, and I would expect some sort of correction here from this, but we'll see. Next, I wanted to look at the cryptocurrency H bar because, that's on a 21 minute. I think that was something that we were looking at last night. Oh, this is really interesting. Going out to the 4 hour, 1, 2, 3 candles that have not been able to break the midline of our trend here. So we'll continue to keep an eye on this. I'm not so sure that we'll get a premonition here just because of the way things are lining up, but we may in fact get a spell. And if it's still under the wave and we're getting a spell, that's probably going to be a signal to us to take that short, and would expect to short it down. And that's 9%. So that's a really good short if you were to try to go for the whole thing. And if not, you can still get 2, 3, 4% out of it, maybe. Good 3% possibly. All right. Thanks so much for joining. And if you are watching this in the future, curious about how to get the indicators, you can go to foresightscrolls.com. You can message us here on YouTube. You can email through the website. You can join the Discord. The Discord, I think we have linked on the YouTube as well in the information. And look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.